This conference will now be recorded.
Y'all ready down there? Y'all good? Yes, sir. I'd like to call the Board of Supervisors meeting to order. As always, let's start with Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you. We do have a quorum. We do need to adopt an agenda. Anything we need to add to the agenda this afternoon? Anybody? What do you got, Mr. Wakely?
I was just going to add, I didn't put it on for information. Yeah, I did, excuse me, the VATI 2024 grant award, my apologies. I just want to make sure we covered some broadband, so I prepared some updates for that. So no addition, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else?
No, sir.
What would y'all like to do?
I move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Public comment. We have a full room and no public. Anybody? No one's watching us either. That's Tracy's here, I guess. All right. Constitutional officers, county departments, committees, and organizations. Mooney?
Good afternoon. Just a couple updates. Couple things that happened this month is we checked prices to repair the benches, to replace the benches at the courthouse and War Memorial Building. The total price was like around, I think, $3,200 each. We got them redone for $350 each. And it's a 20-year warranty. It's powder coated, and the company stand by their work. So I think that was a good thing.
Yeah, that's a good deal, Mooney.
And just trying to beautify the county. We want things to look nice around here. We want that feel like home area. So then we also did the trash cans at Beasley Park. We redid those. We also redid the benches in front of the courthouse, which was a big deal. I think they were donated, but they looked terrible, so we refinished those. That was a before picture, and the after.
Much better.
Like I say, we just need to take care of what we have instead of asking for more all the time. So, a couple other things. The visitor center wall got redone. I had a contractor give me an estimate of $5,500. We done it for around $600. So, Tracy's office got new wall, new lights, and it looks good. So, a couple other things I have on the docket is we got one estimate for Hoover Ridge roof to replacement of the office building. I need to get two more of them. I'm discussing with contractors when we can meet and see if we can get that done when it gets a little bit cooler. The courthouse still is on the books for September, the first week of September, to get that roof painted. We already had the contractor picked out. They just wanted to move it back a little bit longer because it was too hot at the time in July. So the fence at the animal shelter, the fence has came in, the gates are done. So August 19th to 20th, that fence will be replaced at the front of the animal shelter. Matter of fact, we probably about a month and a half ago, we had an incident there where someone ran into the gate. So thank goodness it was the part that we were replacing. So that should be done soon. And last but not least, the scale house. We had the scales at the transfer station recertified, and everything looked good, and it was good to go. So, thank you.
Yeah, any questions for Mooney? Thank you, Mooney. Take the microphone with you. Not that way, this way. Hand it to Miss Warren, would you? Thank you, Mooney. Ms. Warren, tell us about finance, please.
Good evening. I wanted to give a couple updates on Tyler. Time and attendance, we are finally to the point where we have tested it again, and we feel that we can go live September, October, but before we do, we rolled out a couple test cases, so we have a couple employees entering time just to test the system before we go full out live. But the good news is the employees will be able to log time in the system, and then they can track their PTO balances, comp time balances, all of that. The other thing with Tyler, this year I'm going to start rolling out the capital assets module in Tyler, which what that will do for the county is I'll work with every department that has assets, capital assets, and instead of having them in various spreadsheets, we're going to have everything put into Tyler. And we will even be able to put the lifespan of the asset, the value, the insurance information for each asset of the county, the depreciation schedule by department. So it's going to be a great improvement for the county to have everything centralized in Tyler. It will take a little bit of a lift to meet with each department and get all of that data, but that is on my to-do list for this fiscal year. And the other item in Tyler, I would like to implement the Tyler expense reimbursement module, which we don't have a ton, but we do have, when people travel and put in an expense reimbursement, there's no reason why we couldn't train to do that into the Tyler system. So those are some modules that Tyler that we own already. We would just need to do the implementation on them, and I'd like to start that this fiscal year. And the only other item is just audit times coming up, and just always busy in finance. Any questions?
Anybody for Ms. Warren? Thank you, Mr. Warren. Greg Cave?
Month of July, slightly ink. We had 95 calls, 65 calls handled by phone.
Hold on. We have an IT department. We have a hard time with this microphone. Try not to break it, Greg. Go ahead.
All right, so after hour calls, they decreased about to 15 emergency calls. And had a couple of meetings, met with Jonathan and Brian regarding the MOU draft review that we're going to discuss later. Vice Chairman Yao, Brian, and myself met with USDA recently. It's a pretty good meeting. I thought it was very productive, explaining the difference between their organization compared to what VDAX does. Mr. Alex Fincham completed a couple disaster training courses through FEMA. I Did take a online course through Justice Clearinghouse. That was very interesting, talking about how to speak your judge's language. And other than that, we're just staying really busy. You'll hear shortly when Annette gives her report, how busy we've been picking up a lot of animals. We've currently been working on a couple complaints within the county regarding abundance of animals owned by a couple individuals here in the county. Other than that, that's all I have.
Any questions for Greg? Thank you, Greg. Ms. Struthers.
Good evening. The report for HR is we're currently in open enrollment. That started August 1st, and that's from August the 1st to the 15th. That's for any health insurance, dental, FSA, and the tech changes. The changes will take place in September pay for the October plan year. I'm also encouraging employees to do the 457B deferred compensation plan with Nationwide so they can take additional retirement contributions out. And then I'm also encouraging them to do AFLAC. Some VRS plans do not have that short-term disability component. And then I'm also working with Orange Pharmacy to do a flu shot clinic here in October, and those dates will come soon. That's it.
Do you have any questions for Tilly? All your staff's getting along?
Very great.
I got your way to be. Good. All right. Sean, how's dispatch?
Good afternoon. We're doing pretty good. July was a good month, as that did not have any significant weather events or anything like that. We had 479 911 calls. We received 2,187 administrative calls and made 1,179 calls. Total call volume through the center was 3,845. Once again, shows a continuous slight uptick to previous months and previous years. Our calls for service for the month were 1,167 for a total for the year of 8,310. Once again, that's another uptick, just consistent up, going up. With the radio project, it's moving along. We're in the process now. We're getting ready to train our personnel to train everybody in our field. So agencies will be sending representatives for training so they can disseminate that information out to the field. We'll begin coverage testing in mid to late August. For my staffing, my one new hire anticipated going to the academy in October. My trainee, she's finishing up her last bit of training. She should be released to minimum staffing on the floor here within the week. I still have one vacancy, which I'm in the process of trying to discuss about converting that to a supervisor. That allows me to increase the supervisor oversight and support for the dispatchers. Other than that, any questions?
Anybody? Thanks, Sean. Gavin?
Good evening. First of all, we did very well throughout the storm last week. I wanted to thank all of our public safety folks for working together, law enforcement, dispatch, fire, ourselves. We got very lucky. We had some flooding in Syria, no serious damage that I'm aware of. We kept an eye on it from very early Friday morning until throughout the night. So other than that, I don't have a lot to talk about. The generator project is underway. They've received some items already, so they're getting ready for the generators or the generator to arrive, and then at that point it'll be all connected. Still looking at towards the end of the year for that. The Stop the Bleed program, we have gotten all public buildings and courthouses now have the cabinets installed and stocked. Daryl is helping me out, Daryl Preston, in getting the training done at the individual offices, and he's done a number of those already, so he's doing a real good job on that. And then still working on the 2024 EOP update. And that's all I have.
Your Stop Bleed stuff, you've got that out at Hoover Ridge too, I hope.
As I understand it, and I need to follow up on that, but as I understand it, there is, and that they did put a AED out there.
Yeah.
But I will touch base with them. If they don't have the Stop the Bleed stuff, we will get it for them and make that happen.
Anybody else have anything for Gavin? All right, thank
Thanks.
you. Noah?
Good evening. July was likely our busiest month ever at 2:03. 10 minutes was our average response time. Still tracking the no units available at 18. As you can see, sometimes it's only 10 seconds, sometimes it's a little longer than that. The thing to keep in mind is we've had no mutual aid requests needed coming to Madison. So despite that time, we haven't had to call an outside agency. Still working on trying to fill 2 full-time vacancies in EMT and a paramedic. We're at 3 months now. Ms. Struthers, literally right before the meeting, just sent me a paramedic application. So we're going to keep our fingers and toes crossed that that'll work out. The supply vending machine for the pharmacy, it's installed. We're working on programming it and working through our internal policy development for the November switch when the pharmacies no longer support medications for us. I'm also beginning to work on the Rescue Squad Assistance Fund grant. I did learn from Michael Berg, who's their RSAF grant manager, that any capital equipment on order is not eligible for the grant. So my current thought, our response vehicle is aging and it's going to need replacement. I talked with Mr. Gordon yesterday. We can also consider an ambulance as well. So I'll follow up with Mr. Weekly and Mr. Gordon, but if you want me to change course on that, let me know.
What's the match from the county side on that grant?
It'll likely be 50-50.
Oh.
Yeah. And last but not least, we assisted with several standby events, the Fellowship Baptist Church We Care Day, and then the fair in July. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, please, Judd.
Yeah, just real quick, you said it's the busiest month you've had?
I'm going to go back and verify, but anytime we're over 200, it gets my attention.
What is, any reason, any one place in here that stands out? Did we have a bunch of COVID cases? Did we have a bunch of accidents?
No, what you see, your sick person falls and traffic crashes. That tracks each month. Those are our highest numbers. These just happen to be even higher.
Okay.
And
So how far out is the RSAF grant?
So
If it was to be awarded, how far out is that?
the application's due in September.
Uh-huh.
It's early 25 of when we get awards. I need to look at the website and verify when the award date is, but it should be early next year.
Yeah. All right, so we just got to map
Yeah.
that to
And
what we got in our CIP.
Yeah, with budget.
Yeah.
Right.
The
I'll shoot at it.
January of 22 was 209 calls, so this is the second highest for us. And the RSAF grant committee, they know the lead times of these ambulances, so if we're doing an application of 3 years, they're already tracking that. So we do have 2 on order, but if we order a third, we could probably apply for that. So.
Have y'all checked in on the first of the ambulances to be delivered? Is it on schedule, behind?
It's on schedule, but for another year.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
And with the Rescue Squad Assistant Grant, you're applying for at least an ambulance and then a crash truck or something of that, chase truck or whatever?
The current thought is the quick response vehicle, which is the Tahoe.
Yeah.
I can do an ambulance, but I can't do it for one that we've already ordered.
Yeah.
On that. So I'm happy to put in for both. I'm told it's a tight grant year, especially with the $3 million lost from OEMS and so forth. So the likelihood of award is low, but we're still going to go for it.
I mean, I would think wouldn't the philosophy be to apply for as much as you can get and see what actually sticks?
Yeah.
Because, I mean, it seems to me that we're on a rotation with these ambulances, unfortunately. And the chase vehicle is just kind of secondary, honestly. I mean, I know y'all need it, and I don't mean secondary in importance, but
Sure.
I mean, you might as well apply for that too. I
Yep.
mean,
Yeah.
yeah. Talk to them. go down the path.
Will do. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, go back to Annette. Sorry, Tracy. Annette, please.
How are you? Want to start off with thanking Daryl Preston for taking care of our Stop the Bleed and an AED refresher training. He took care of the shelter staff and animal control. Have been speaking with a member of the Master Garden Club about replanting and sprucing up the flower bed at the shelter sign. That's been scheduled when it cools down. July the 11th, we transferred in 4 kittens from the Culpeper shelter. They've all been adopted. July the 12th, we transferred in 2 puppies from a local organization. Both have been adopted. Animal control worked with an individual who surrendered 27 cats to the shelter. We had 2 organizations step up to place all of them. So I would like to thank Remy's Rain and Madison Community Cats. Those are the 2 organizations that took those for us.
Who was the first one?
Remy's Rain Incorporated, which is
Oh.
Unionville area.
Excellent. Good.
I sent a lot of animals to her, pull animals from her, and Madison Community Cats. Animal control has been keeping the shelter busy, but we've been handling it well. Our numbers for July, we had 10 dogs reclaimed, 23 cat adoptions, 7 dog adoptions, and 26 cats and dogs sent to rescues. Right now at the shelter, we have 3 dogs and 5 cats, which I think one of those kittens, we're going to make the shelter mascot. He's been with us for about 2 months, so I don't think we're ready to let him go yet.
Seemed like a good cat.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a way to be. Oh,
He's going to be our welcoming committee.
that's excellent. No. Yeah, I always figured him for a cat man. All right, anybody have any questions for Annette? All right,
Thank you.
thank you. Good work. Go to the sheriff. That's the way to be. All right, Sheriff, how are you?
Good afternoon.
Yeah.
All is well. We got some rain. Briefly talk about our events that took place, tractor pull and the fair. And we have how many years, Tracy? The event I look forward to seeing everyone at in 2 weeks at the street festival. That's up and coming. Thanks to the board and Jennifer for helping us out. We have a SRO in every school system right now. So today was day 1, and I think no child went missing, so far so good. Our domestic call for service are up, domestics are up. This time of year, hot, drinking, summertime, aggravated assault, simple assault, strangulations, and our DUIs are up. And also, as you can see earlier, traffic accidents. So, Mooney kind of left this out. We're having issues with our roof at the building. It's leaking again. He's on it. He's trying to get someone to come in now and repair the roof for the 29th time.
Which section, the flat or the?
The flat roof, yes, correct.
Ah, yes.
He's
one
working
with
on
light.
that for us.
Good.
After we've been promised for multiple years now, we had some new radios we tried, the portables at the fair this year. Thanks to Brian, he's promised 2025, but the portables worked well out at the fair, and I appreciate all Brian's help on that. So, 2 vacancies at the office, and we haven't really had a lot of people coming in applying at this time, but we have 2 vacancies. So,
You do have a lot of people, or you do not have a lot of people? Very few.
we have people applying. How's that sound?
That sounds correct.
That's
Good.
as far as we'll go on that. How's that?
Excellent.
But all seems to be going good. 2 new guys, one has been released, and one more, probably 2 more weeks, he'll be released, but we'll still be too short. So we're still working at that. Any questions that the board may have?
Anybody? Thanks, Sheriff.
Thank you.
Commish.
Good afternoon. Sorry, am I holding this too?
No,
Anyway.
you're just making up for Greg. Go ahead.
Reassessment's still chugging along. No real issues there. They tell me everything's going good. Don't really have any projected numbers yet. They're hoping to get some of those put together so that we can kind of get some public information out to I guess, forewarned of a potential increase. Finishing up personal property, we'll get that over to Stephanie and get those bills out here in the next couple months. Went to the Blue Ridge Cigarette Tax Board meeting. Cigarette sales are down, so I don't know if that means the tax is working or something different. I don't know. Maybe everybody's vaping or
Yeah,
other
that's what it is.
recreational stuff. I don't know. So, Sheriff, he may be able to. Sheriff may be able to comment on that. But,
Growing there.
Great. Good.
Got a land use meeting Thursday. If anybody's interested in this valuations, estimates, that's at the Forestry Department at 11 o'clock Thursday. They'll do a presentation on state land use estimates. I did preview a video of where they, thanks to Mr. Jarvis, an extension, Virginia Tech came and did I guess a promo video on land use and how it works and the benefits of it. And Chair, you had some great video clips in there. Brad, you as well. So it kind of felt like a advertisement for Madison County. Hope we don't get everybody coming here flocking to be the next Bozeman, Montana. Other than that, everything's going good.
Anybody have any questions for Brian?
Well, other than, so Brian, what's the target date to finish the reassessment?
Typically, they want to finish up by December. We've seen the last time, can run into January.
All right.
Hopefully not February.
Jonathan?
And we are still soliciting actively for Board of Equalization, so please spread the word. We're trying to do that through the paper, but if you know of someone, particularly in real estate or an appraiser or financial, those type of backgrounds, and must be a resident of the county. That's my shameless plug.
How many people do you have so far?
Ones who have shown interest, at least 2, and 1 is thinking about it. I'm all about bringing the band back together. We reached out to prior individuals, and majority of them said, we appreciate it last time, but they are not able to commit.
Yeah, you need
5, the state code requires a minimum of 3. It's definitely recommended to have alternates. That's how you get up to 5, because people's schedule and just in general. So that's what was the makeup of the committee last time was 5. We're aiming for 5 this time.
Try not to run this committee off, Brian. Need them for a couple more years. See what we can do. Where are we advertising?
Paper, I don't know if it's a website. Yeah, so paper, website, and also we're making phone calls. So if you know someone, please send them to Kim or myself or Brian Daniel.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
Jamie Wilkes.
Good afternoon, everyone. Things are very steady and busy in the Building and Zoning Department. We actually had a contractor today ask about how much it slowed down, and since I've been here almost 5 years, it has not slowed down. Cost of materials, interest rates, I guess it's irrelevant to people because we're steady. We have transitioned to the new Tyler permitting software. We're in a funny phase right now, so we're kind of working in both. We have old permits in the old system that have to just kind of time out, so we're working between both. And with any new software, there's nuances, bugs, things we're working through. Software's new to us, everybody in the office, but it seems to be going well. It's a vast improvement over what we had. We basically had nothing. We're putting inspection reviews. We can put sure those, so it's working out good. I think it was last month we did our final inspection on the new cell tower up in Etland. So as far as the state building code goes, that project is complete now. Brian's handling, but the project is complete per the building code. And I think everyone's aware, the EMS building renovations have begun, and we're working with the contractor. And everything, working with the contractor seems to be a good process. They're open, transparent with us, so that's going good. Zoning wise, I guess, with the departure of our last zoning administrator, we're searching for a new zoning administrator, and we have numerous advertisements out, website, and a lot of platforms, Vaco, VML, LinkedIn. And I think the number is, I think we have 5 applicants right now. So hopefully we'll be interviewing shortly. We have the system set up like we did last time, working with Mr. Weekly. He's the acting zoning administrator per the ordinance. So we have a pretty good system set up where things come in. We're handling some minor things. Other pieces we're scheduling to make sure we can get everything out in a timely manner and work with Mr. Weekly. E&S wise, it's pretty much the same routine. We have the new DEQ report. You know, Joe submits that monthly to DEQ. We provide it to you so you can have an idea what's going on. And then with the new Tyler software, it prints out a monthly report. As you've seen, it's pretty detailed. It has a lot of information and a lot of pages. And that's one of those reports we're kind of working through. It spit out like maybe 30 pages, and I'm not sure that anyone's going to disseminate that. But we're working through that to get a more concise report. And last month I was talking about the building code grading system that we're going to be going through, but talking to the rep from well, it's not an insurance company, but they work for the insurance companies. We talked about new software. They wanted us to hold off a little bit because we can get better data for them, because in the past we had no way to pull data that we could give to them. So we're going to hold off on that for a little bit, maybe another 4, 5, 6 months. And they'll contact us, and we'll just move forward with that. And that, relates to our county rating for the, kind of like the fire rating, but they do one for building codes. And it helps, the higher score helps the citizens getting insurance. That's pretty much it I have today, unless you have any questions.
Do we have any questions, Mr. Wilkes? Thank you, Jamie. All right, Alan.
Good afternoon, everybody. Bruce is at the beach, so you'll be dealing with me today, unfortunately. The IT system, ticketing system rollout is complete. We have a first version right up there for you, so you can see all of the wonderful stuff that we've been doing. Just for everyone's information, the estimated savings are a minimum. That is assuming the lowest cost had we called for support from Magnify. So the numbers that we are saving could probably be higher than that, considering they would probably take more than the general rate for everything. We also have the facilities ticket system. That rollout is also complete, so they're up and running just like we are. They're going to be tracking stuff and probably presenting that to you at the next board meeting. We are also migrating the on-boarder and off-boarder that we use for employees to Smartsheet as well, so that we can better track those data points as well. Big thanks to Ms. Tilley. She was in the interview process with us for all of our many interviews. We had a lot of fabulous candidates. We had a lot of them. We selected a candidate. They should be completing the rest of their pre-hire stuff, and hopefully they'll start at the early beginning of September. Bruce will be compiling a pathway, basically the other stuff that I will be completing now that we have another person in this position, the stuff that I'll be taking on. And while he's doing that, I've also been compiling the current duties that I'm handling that the new person will be taking over. So we're hoping to expand the services that we can offer quickly and that we don't have to reach out for and pay a service fee to Magnify for. But other than that, that's our quick update. Any questions?
Any questions for Alan? What certifications do you have now, Alan?
I've got the AZ900. If you've been in our room recently, I actually have a stack of CompTIA books that I'm going through when I have the time. Currently, I'm on the networking, security, and the A+ ones at the same time, but it's a process.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to recognize what you see, the dashboards for this as well as the facilities, that's in-house. That's Mr. Berry doing that. I know that was something that was referenced by supervisors in the past, see what we can do outside of other software. So I believe in visuals, and he's done a good job of pulling that together so you can see. Just like EMS, you saw the different calls of services, you can see your tickets and the ticket types.
That's real good. Thank you, Alan. All right, Tiffany, how's CSA and social services?
All right, good evening. So I'm just coming before the board just to kind of give an update on the financials right now as to we're working on post-year expenditures, and I've been talking with Jennifer in regards to where we are. And I've sent over some information as to regarding a supplemental. Now, the supplemental that I'm putting in for is to draw down the remaining amount that we've already been allocated and approved for. So they only give us 80% of our allocation at the beginning of the year, so there's still a percentage that they don't give us. So in order for me to finish out my year, I have to put in a supplemental to draw down those remaining funds. So it is no additional funds that I'm asking for, it's more or less that I'm just requesting to draw down those funds that have already been approved and allocated. So in the form that I have given you all is the supplemental allocation request, and it just kind of breaks down the funds out through the different mandates that I have to split all of my expenditures and invoices in, which I know a lot of this is foreign to everybody, but the request that I put in for, Jennifer, I hope I sent you the correct one. So on the second page, yes, so the highlighted amount is what I'm requesting to draw down just in state funds because locally we are still doing great in. I just need more funds of state only to finish out our year because as of right now, the bills that I would be paying are from July 1. So most of the outstanding ones that I'm needing additional funds for are post-year. So the $60,524.19 is just the supplemental request that I'm asking to draw down from the state of funds that have already been approved. If that makes sense.
What's the supplemental appropriation number, John?
I don't believe we're ready for that. It'll be
When are you
possibly
gonna ask for
next.
that one? That's the question.
So are you meaning that we need more money?
Yes.
So no, this has already been approved at the beginning of the fiscal year. So I just have to at least put in the supplemental to ask the state to give me the remainings of my money, if that makes sense.
Yeah, all
So
right.
I just have to make you all aware that I'm requesting additional funds from the state, but it's already been approved. So if that,
So do you request it from the state sends it to our treasury, and
Mhm.
then you do a supplemental to move it over to her?
yep,
No,
No?
well,
it's already been approved.
mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. I see.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's just called a
Very
supplemental
clear
through the
process.
system.
Oh, all right.
As to. And just to kind of give you all, I ended up giving some data information to you just for some comparisons, just to give you all a year-end report for our fiscal, but to also kind of be aware that we do have some larger expenditures that are coming through in regards to non-Medicaid children, which would be a full expense to CSA and local dollars. I've been working with the state and keeping our board member who is on our community policy and management team, Dustin, in regards to what that is looking like and trying to work with the state because these kids who do not have Medicaid, that is a full expense to us. And we did have a hospitalization, so that is going to be a higher expense.
Are you talking to other localities about these clients, these similar clients, and how they're dealing with it, and everybody is sharing in the pain, I'd assume?
The past 2 weeks, we've actually, talking with the state, and we ended up talking to an individual through Fairfax because the possibility of maybe getting citizenship for these individuals, because if they don't have a social security number, you cannot get Medicaid or a form of health insurance. So that ends up making it very difficult in regards to health coverage. So into talking with lawyers, GALs, which are the guardian ad litems, and through the courts to try and possibly push along the option of getting citizenship for these kiddos so that they can get health coverage. Or there could be the possibility of buying a health care plan, but got to have a social to track. So before I came here, I talked to my state consultant in regards to this, and he's basically stated that we're going to probably have to fully fund it unless the emergency Medicaid option that is in there covers, but they're going to pick and choose what they're going to cover. But I can't elaborate as to what they're going to pick and choose and cover. So this is really new for us, but just to make you all aware that with immigration and undocumented individuals coming within the county, I think it's going to be an increase. We have 23 kids in foster care right now, and I served 54 kids this past fiscal year.
All right. Questions for Tiffany?
So the kids roll, yeah, I was looking at that number 54, like I thought we were in the low 20s. So they roll in and out during a fiscal year.
Correct, yes. We close kids out as long as they're successful, but they could carry over. But we currently in DSS custody have 23 children. So, but I serve through the Department of Juvenile Justice, through the Community Services Board and Compass. I serve the schools. So I have other areas and departments that I serve. So that number is also why the number is 54. But we are doing the best that we can in utilizing the resources that we have, but it is very limited in our locality. So we are reaching out to other areas and doing the best that we can.
Please.
The $60,000 that you're drawing down, has that already been allocated? So it's-
Yeah, so it's just a matter of the approval to move forward to send that supplemental through. But like I said, it is no additional cost to you all. It's already been approved at the beginning of the fiscal year. It's just to notify you all that I'm drawing down the remaining percentage that they didn't give me at the beginning of the year. But we are still locally doing good. Yeah. Correct.
All right. Keep it, please. Yes, sir.
So, just to reiterate what you, or just recap what you said, you know, we are serving undocumented immigrant children, correct? And there's very little, if any, commitment of support from the federal government to support those children. Is that correct?
Correct.
I'm wondering if anybody in the agencies or any elected officials have petitioned our local U.S. representative and made them aware of this problem, because I think they that person should be, since that person is responsible for representing us in Congress and is responsible for helping to support what is really the result of national policy. So I'm not sure, does anybody in your offices or across the agencies or at the state level communicate with our federal representatives that this is an issue?
Our director meets with other directors within the state of Virginia, so I'm sure they're communicating with other levels up. I just can't speak for my director as to what other levels of communication that she's talking with the state. I know in my state meetings, we're trying to discuss what we're seeing across the board through other localities, but I do think there needs to be some sort of assistance for our foster care children who are undocumented to help get health care coverage, because we just don't know what to expect, and hospitalizations and, you know, mental health services is very, I mean, we're gonna be paying full out of pocket. There's no, so I don't know if that can be discussed to our state representatives, if there's some way or another that we can get help there for our foster care kids who don't have socials or
John,
on track.
So, Mr. Chairman, members of the board, to Supervisor Jewett's point, if it's the pleasure of the board, administration can draft a letter on behalf of the county.
Yeah, absolutely.
I realize some of the information protected, but we can work with statistical data and information to not only solicit our state representatives, but as well as our federal representatives. And we can report back to the board and CSA of any response we may receive, if that's okay with the board.
Y'all want to go down that path?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let's do that.
We'll work with you.
I'm sorry.
Are you available to have a meeting?
We'll coordinate.
Okay. Yeah, I just at least want to make you all aware, because we're such a small locality and the other localities are much larger, and they know how to deal with it, but this is kind of new for us. So we're still trying to get those bases and streamlines to figure out communication and not hurt our tax dollars.
One
Please.
follow-up
Yes, sir.
question. All right, just a quick follow-up. Now I'm going to refocus on our own children, the children who are legal residents of the United States. What gaps in these programs that are a result of federal funding or federal responsibilities are we seeing, if any, to support all the children with regard to, say, Medicaid or any other supportive services funding?
We're using all the insurance that we can, if I'm understanding your question correctly. I mean, we try to use Medicaid as the first resort of service, but I can tell you that some of our providers have leaned away from even servicing insurance because of the paperwork involved and what the requirements are. So we have also ran into that hiccup, and that's it's just there's a learning curve there that we're still trying to figure out in regards to some of these changes, and then providers that are, like I said, they're not doing the paperwork to be involved with the insurance companies, so they're just wanting to be straight pay. I hope I answered your question correctly, but
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, and really to commend you on a really tough job. I know your department works really hard, and I know they're good stewards of the Money County's money and the state's money, just as all of our departments here in the county. But thank you.
thank you.
Anybody else have anything for Tiffany? Tiffany, thank you. Tracy?
Okay, I'll be brief. Exciting to find out about the VADI grants. I'm looking forward to Mr. Weekly telling us about that. And Sheriff's still here, so I wanted to thank him in advance for Taste the Mountains. I got the VDOT permit for that. I was going to thank Mooney as well. It literally takes everybody for this kind of festival, and he's working together to with one of the sports groups to do the trash again this year. But I want to put it out there for anybody that's with any nonprofits. A lot of our nonprofit organizations that help out, they're getting older. So we will eventually need to have younger people step up. For the Lions Club, we have 3 people now that are going to help the vendors in the morning, one of them being my husband, who's not a Lion. And then the American Legion normally helps with parking, and they're having trouble finding people to do that. So I just got to put the word out, because that's an all-day thing out in the heat at the high school, too. So just putting it out there. It is the 30th Taste of the Mountains. It would have been the 32nd had it not been for COVID total. So lots of food trucks this year around the circle. Little Country Store, I'm happy to report, is coming back this year, trying to find a new spot for him because Cardinal uses his old spots. Dairy Club's going to be there again this year. Everybody's looking forward to that because that's one of the ones he was asking about. Can 4-H do it? I'm like, I don't think so. Parking. So it takes everybody, so we really appreciate it. I got all of our expenses put in for the ARPA grant, attended a lot of meetings, put the state's tourism numbers, it's $33 billion, in hopes of by this week we would have our local numbers, and we do not. So hopefully we'll have that by next month. Civil War Trails gave us a report. I like their tagline, Civil War Trails delivers economic development by the carload every day. Pretty cool. We used to pay $500 per sign for Jack Shop in James City, and now we pay $400 for both. So you can't even get a rack card printed for that, so that it's a pretty good deal. And they sent out 193,000 paper map guides in 2023 that were in. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to be in the town project management team meeting kickoff this Thursday at 5:30.
That's for the sidewalk?
No, it's for the town
2.23
planning grant.
not the $2.236 million 400-foot sidewalk, not that one?
It's a planning grant that the planning district is working with them on.
I know about that one too, yeah.
Or the
got it.
30,000 that we gave for the revolving loan.
That's
that was-
correct,
Yeah,
yes.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I have no idea.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sidewalks are expensive.
Food policy meeting yesterday, and they talked about purely Piedmont, which I've explained. The Tween Rivers was our regional little tourism effort, and they've kind of combined the two. They use advanced travel and tourism, which I hope to use at some point. Just with that alone, I wanted to share it because this is a regional thing. The top keywords that people put in were Early Mountain Vineyards, local restaurant, hotel, Grays Mountain Lodge, and Ashby Inn and Restaurant. Those were the main ones for everybody. And the top performing segment in the region was Eat and Drink section there. So just to give you some. But after using them, Advanced Travel and Tourism, in 1 month, all the clicks went up 66%, an increase on the website. So a lot of people use that with their ARPA money. It's just a company that does a lot of targeted stuff. So I'm hoping to kind of move in that direction at some point when we can. And that's all I have. I'll be planning Christmas stuff soon, too.
Any questions for Tracy?
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I'll tie VDOT because their report's in here though, but I want to recognize Tracy too. In the VDOT report, it recognizes an extension of an existing turning lane. Many of you all are familiar with Prince Michelle, but specifically where Prince Michelle and Kirtley intersect, so that's Route 631. Tracy has worked with the business community. Mr. McCoy had reached out. Mr. Hatfield, excuse me. Man, I'm gone. Brian, you're up next. I'm gone. Rio, let's just say Rio, so I get the right one. He had reached out with concerns. So there's two turning lanes there. One of them dumps you into the former shops, rock shop years ago there in James City. And then if you miss that turn or try to get back on the road, it's very difficult. So the request came in. I know Tracy had some follow-up with VDOT, and they have recognized that they will be extending that turn lane. So if you see some activity out there, that's the reason why. So thank you for that. And that was outside of that in the R-Cut at Shelby. That's really their report. But I did want to recognize how working with our business community and ideas or thoughts they have really improves the safety of our travelways in the county.
And I'm sorry that Mooney had left because I was going to give him props, and also Kurt for the visitor center work. Kurt thought he was slow. I was like, you're actually extremely fast. And also, the park benches, I just got an email from someone asking, can we spruce up the park benches at the courthouse and things. I'm like, I'll pass that along. We have this town management thing as well. We'll go through all of that. And then when they did it, she reported back, was that because of my email? Sure. You're welcome. So yeah,
That's a win.
they're very much appreciated.
All right, anybody else have anything for Tracy? All right, Jonathan, when's VDOT come to talk to us again? Because they're doing
September, the
Good.
September meeting. They had a conflict with their June meeting. They were here for the public hearing on, there was a bridge replacement up in another area. So Ms. Shepherd has said September is when she'll be here.
They're doing some really good road work all over the county. It's about as shoddy as it could be. I mean, you could drive down the Hero Valley Road. I don't think you could do a worse job on a project. I mean, it's just amazing.
I would say if there's any road projects you want to give me information on, or when she arrives in September, I am waiting for, I think they were supposed to restripe a couple weeks ago, Fishback. So I've asked her to look at that. I have a question on, I know the paving is done, but the type of material used versus what was there before. So, yes, September is when she'll be here.
Yeah, because I've been approached by a number of people in Etland. The vegetation has grown over the signage going into Etland, and I mean, road numbers blocked out. It used to say Sperryville 12 miles, now it says Sperry. And typically, it wouldn't matter because everybody's using their GPS, except it doesn't work in Etland. So you really would be nice to be able to see the
Well, and I appreciate that. I think you take care of Oak Park because you come off Oak Park Road and it's like, is that a stop sign? Like what's?
Right.
So yes, certainly. I know several years ago, right or wrong, indifferent, it seems like they moved to a twice a year type of mowing. Thankfully, they did mow around the school areas, I guess, in advance of them opening today. But certainly, I can share that in advance of September, or if you want to share those concerns in September, but that's when she'll be here.
I got a list of about 4 or 5 things. I'll give them to you.
Okay. Yeah, please circulate them.
I mean, it is just awful how bad some of them are. I mean, it's just crazy.
We have provided the information, thanks to Sheriff's Office for providing information. A lot of times when we request a speed study, they'll say, is there any local law enforcement or traffic data? So
Y'all have a list of roads that, I mean, you cover more probably terrain than anybody. I mean, do you have a list of roads that are in just the worst kind of conditions? Yeah, those are the ones I was referring to.
Yeah.
It is terrible. I mean, I don't know how you can make it worse.
So that means I can go way over 55 because I can't see the sign area? Okay.
No, good.
So, Mr. Chairman, if there's anything before September you'd like to send along, we'll certainly push that out, or.
Well, see if you can put together something, a list or something of roads that need some attention and signage as well. I guess that's where everybody working is. I mean, I don't know. When's that supposed to be complete? Nobody seems to know that is. Soon?
The R cut?
Yeah, the R cut. When's that?
Pretty sure it's about Yeah, they're tracking maybe by end of the year, but I will, yeah.
October of 20, good. Oh,
Yeah.
soon. Good. That's excellent.
So-
That's proposal. Well, that's what we're gonna count on. All right, anything else on VDOT or Tracy or any other general complaints? All right. We don't have a special appearance. We don't have a public hearing. Brian, talk to it, or excuse me. Let's go back to consent agenda. We have minutes from 7/23/2024 and 8/07/2024. What would you all like to do with those?
I move to approve the consent agenda as presented, Mr. Chairman.
Second. Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. No special appearance, no public hearings. Brian, tell us about the burn ban ordinance, please.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Mr. Wright and myself have been working on this for a good while now. I brought it to you back in July, and we've refined this thing. There's several definitions on it. I'll hit the high points and field any questions. Open air fires speak for themselves. Combustion directly emitted into the atmosphere without passing through ductwork, stacks, chimneys, enclosed chambers, so on and so forth. Enclosed fires is what it sounds like. It's grills, wood stoves, outdoor wood stoves, things of that nature. Anything for cooking, religious fires, ceremonial cooking, warmth, are all enclosed fires by definition on this ordinance. And then emergency operation fire would be a control burn used by the fire department during times of emergency or otherwise. The prohibition of this would be enacted by the county administrator in direct relationship with the director of emergency management, who's the chairman of the board, or the vice chairman of the board. It would be done very similarly to an emergency declaration or without an emergency declaration. To get into notice of violation, this would pretty much give the extinguishing fire company or authority the authority to extinguish. So it could be the Department of Forestry, it could be the fire department, or like last fall, it could be a gold team of sorts.
Mr. Gordon, if I can interrupt you just for this
Yes.
part. So 15 TAC 21 is a slight change based on going, we submitted this also to Ms. Clarissa Berry, who reviewed it. It was her suggestion, which we took as a good one, to make it a faster process for responding fire to be able to go ahead and take care of the fire as opposed to calling administration and then essentially asking permission. So this turns it into letting the person on the ground operate and then just back brief the administrator. So, sorry to interrupt you, Mr. Gordon.
Nope, that's fine. Violation will be a Class 1 misdemeanor, would be sworn out by the county administrator's office. It could be issued by the forestry department. It would mean serving a warrant of some sort or summons on the person that did it. And then ordinance and interactions with state laws, so on and so forth. So happy to entertain any questions that you might have.
Anybody have any questions on this?
I just want to mention, this is scheduled for a public hearing. I believe it's at the second August meeting. So the goal was to get you in front. I mean, it's a new ordinance, and it's very in-depth, and there's carryover from our wire fire and our activity that occurred in March. So while there'll be more time, if you have questions, certainly at the public hearing, I think it was important for the good work they did to get it in front of you tonight.
And a disclaimer here, the three definitions that are in there, the idea here is we could prohibit one, two, or all three. Very, very few instances are going to require us to ban an enclosed fire. We're not going to tell somebody you can't burn a wood stove or a religious enactment of things like that. This is for open air fires. If we have a situation like we did last fall, something that we can do very quickly to take the burden off the fire department and emergency services as a whole.
Something we need to have. We need to have in place so we can take care of it. All right, anybody have any questions on this item? Thank you, Brian.
Yes, sir.
Be back in August. All right, let's go to new business, animal control, VDH MOU. Mr. Weekly?
I'm actually going to turn this over to Mr. Cave, as well as we have our wonderful VDH representatives here, starting with Ms. Bordone. We already have an established working relationship, and I'm not being paid to say that, whether it's with our building official in the Virginia Department of Health or a lot of times with animal control and VDH. You can think of, I think it was at least 2 years ago, we had that rabies issue at Shiflett's Corner. These are the folks that you see that are sitting beside each other, including our former health director, that were heavily involved to make sure we kept that contained and all the isolation period and follow-up that occurs. So that's a little bit of introduction of how we've been working together. Greg, if you'd like to, we'll pass the microphone on. You, Indoor, VDH, kind of speak to what this MOU, if there's anything beyond what I just mentioned, but as well as what are we looking to solidify here with this MOU?
Yeah, I mean, I reviewed it. It's pretty straightforward what we're doing now. I've made a couple recommendation changes. They've already put those in there. So I don't have any issues with it.
Yeah, so I'm going to let this is V Trong. She's the environmental health manager, and she's going to talk a little bit more in depth about it.
Hi, good evening. Thanks for giving us time on your agenda, and thanks for reviewing it, Greg. We appreciate it. Like Greg said, everything in the MOU is pretty much what we're already doing. So under the Code of Virginia, the local health director has become responsible. We've been responsible, and we're just updating it. We haven't, our last revision, our last plan was created in 2016. So we're revising and making sure we're up to date, we're current. So under the code, the plan is to make sure that we can respond to any rabies incidences. And the plan said we shall identify the authority and responsibility of the local health department, local law enforcement, and animal control officers. So essentially, we have our response plan, and then part of that is an MOU with each of the animal control officers that we work with in all of our counties. And so we're just trying to put it in place, make sure that we're all clear of responsibilities. Our responsibilities are listed in the plan, and so are animal control. And we're happy to revise and update yearly, or if you guys want to update it less frequently, we can do that as well. Just give us a time frame that you'd like to do that at, and we're happy to accommodate.
I just have one to if I may. And I believe what you see here tonight, this is with Madison County, but you'll also notice they focus on the Rappahannock-Rapidan Health District. So I'd imagine this MOU is also being presented to the other counties that make up that district. Is that correct?
All
okay.
5, yep. And the MOU for each of the other counties is very similar. Very small changes have been put through, mostly aesthetics, like how the names are referred to and stuff like that. But the meat of the MOU has been pretty consistent so far.
All right, does anybody have any questions on this? How often would you all like to, do you have questions?
Right. No, all I was going to ask Greg, what in this MOU, I mean, if we said we'd like a 5-year period, right, say, and it would, unless somebody decides they didn't want to do it, it would automatically go. What in here is likely to change? Not much. I mean,
yeah, nothing. I don't see anything changing. It's pretty much
I agree.
Yeah.
So I'm just thinking
I think
we ought to
5
do
or 6
5,
years at least.
I don't know,
I don't
whatever.
see any reason to revisit this annually.
When was the last one? 2016?
Well, sure, we're okay with any time frame, honestly, because like Greg said, it's pretty consistent with what we're doing. We never created one before. So we created our response plan, and then we never got around to, as a district, creating the MOU and sharing that. So this is the first MOU that we've pushed out. So how this will work is this is the draft that we have here. Once it's approved by us in each of the counties, we'll send it to DGS. They'll approve it, and then they'll send back the final copy, and then we'll sign that copy.
All right. Anybody else have questions on it? What would y'all look? Hannon?
If you're suggesting possibly amending this to make it to the 5-year, I would say, 1 year to 5 years, and because it's a contract, PDH is gonna need to agree to it. They may only want a 1 year, but I would just make it conditional on what they are, and that would give, we wouldn't have to come back in front of you all if you did it that way.
It's similar administrative to contractor leases. You can have extra terms. I would just, again, clarify, that state statute there, even without this MOU, that's what we relied heavily back when Dr. Gravatt and others were involved, because we needed, who has the governing authority and who declares. So I think it's good to be current, and I do like that flexibility as pointed out by Mr. Wright.
All right. Is everybody good with 5 years or whatever is approved, and we go with that administratively? All right, what would you like to do?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we set the period of contract to be 5 years, provided that VDH agrees with that, to be renewable every year.
Second.
All right, motion made and seconded. Further discussion?
Just point of clarity, did they need to authorize me to sign upon final
He's already
document?
our agent.
Right, for up to 5 years, I think is what we'd be asking, that's the flexibility.
Yeah.
All right. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Thank you all very much. All right, drought resolution 2024-17. Mr. Jarvis, you gonna talk about this? I am. Excellent. Hand Jarvis the microphone, please.
I submitted it prior to knowing this, though. A lot of times when you have a drought conditions in the agricultural sector, in the agricultural sector, you had to collect weather data, which I shared with the board. We were about 14 inches below normal rainfall. We were 5 degrees hotter temperature than normal from March till the middle of July, actually. And you could drive around the countryside and thoroughly notice that corn was suffering and pastures were suffering. Since I submitted that data to you, lo and behold, we had a secretarial disaster declaration anointed to us. So the way the federal government designates counties for that disaster declaration is through the U.S. Drought Monitoring System. It's a model that takes lots of data points to show across the United States where the driest sectors are, driest components of the United States. The reason I sent this to you is because we stood in a D2 drought declaration. D2 is not an automatic secretarial declaration. We were on the border when we were D2. You had to be in D2 drought conditions for 8 consecutive weeks. And we had not achieved 8 consecutive weeks as of the time I wrote that requesting a declaration, local declaration, to ramp up the power of my request for being designated. That's what a local government body will do, will help get your designation done. So we were declared on August 1st, by the way. So I wanted to come by and tell you what that means, though. Once you're given a secretarial disaster declaration, the first steps is your insurance. You have to have crop insurance to be able to benefit from any money from a drought declaration. The next thing that's enacted is emergency loans. If you put out $100,000 or any amount of money to plant a crop, you can get a loan to cover the cost of that if a loan's being called on you. No farmer wants another loan. All right? No farmer wants another loan. So that's not a very favorite program for anybody. The next is the CRP, Conservation Reserve Program. That is for feed resources. Okay, so if your pasture dried up, you didn't make enough hay to get you through the winter, we're waiting to see what is the program going to be for CRP. This has not been defined yet. Okay, we've got the drought declaration, but we don't know what programs are going to be unveiled to assist farmers in this time of loss. And then the next program is going to be ECP. This is Emergency Conservation Program. These are water resources. So we had lots of water systems dry up in livestock fields. So they had to go to emergency water situations. So we're going to have some sort of crop guaranteed income assistance that's provided by FSA, Farm Service Agency. We're going to have some sort of ECP program probably to help with water situations. That's going to be Farm Service Agency and NRCS. And then we have the Conservation Reserve Program. That's going to be no feed, pasture, and that's Farm Service Agency. Those programs, once the declaration was declared, the Secretary Tom Vilsack declared that we are eligible for all of those programs. They have not been defined or unveiled yet, so we're waiting to see that. And right now, we are working with insurance companies to make sure our farmers can actually harvest corn as a forage rather than watching it dry up in the field. So if you drive around right now, you're going to see 3 and 4 foot corn being chopped, or it's going to be baled because those farmers need the hay. We have to warn them, your adjuster has to see that crop first. You just don't jump in the field and start harvesting corn before an adjuster has declared what your damage is. So I've been going around quite a bit saying, make sure your insurance adjuster comes to see this and makes an evaluation before you just take it to the ground, or you may not be eligible for your insurance claim. So I'm still around working with the adjusters, working with the crop producers to make sure that they have the feed resources they need. The other thing is we're going to test heavily for nitrate poisoning. When you fertilize corn and it does not grow properly, the nitrate levels increase in that stalk and stem. And so you have to be able to make safe feed too, because if that corn stalk's taken in a lot of nitrate and you harvest it before it has fully grown to maturity, it has excessive nitrogens. It'll be above the parts per million that can cause some damages, calf abortions, and death to young cattle. So we have to watch that and be aware and learn how to feed this product or test this product. So if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. But this is all good to help the farmer stay in business. This is, it's been quite a year this year, one of the hardest droughts I've seen in a while.
I have a quick question, Mr. Jarvis. Is it just crop grains, or it can be grapes and other type of orchards and that type of thing?
As far as the drought declaration,
Yeah.
they work just like the corn and beans and livestock insurance. They have to have insurance.
Okay.
So, and if they have insurance, then that will be their primary source of getting their damages compensated for. The other programs do not cover alternative crops. So
Gotcha.
they have to have that unless our governor decides that they're at a disadvantage. So specialty crops could be, some assistance could be given to specialty crops, but that is on a case-by-case basis. My advice to all specialty crop growers is you better have insurance or you will not probably get any support. That's the same with the crop growers, by the way. They're not, specialty crop growers are not being, put out. They're under the same rules as corn and soybean growers. If you don't have an insurance, you're not going to be eligible for anything.
Thank you.
Other questions or thoughts? The only one handing on, Jim brought it to me before. Did Jim and I have to abstain on this because we're both in agriculture and could potentially benefit from this?
I will make a recommendation. I don't think your resolution's necessary at this time. You already have a secretarial disaster declaration for Madison County. The sample declaration I provided you, I only would wanted you to act on that if we had not gotten our secretarial disaster declaration, and we got that post you receiving that sample that I sent you. I don't think it's I don't think you have to. We're already in the program, so it's your privilege. If you want to send the resolution up, it's totally up to you. Wouldn't hurt anything. It'll make sure let the government know you're fully aware of what's going on in the county as far as agriculture, so it's not something that, you know, it wouldn't hurt anything to do that, but we've already achieved what I wanted that declaration to help us, a resolution to help us achieve.
Hannon, what do you say about my question, I guess?
Yeah, and I see nothing wrong with us passing this.
No, I agree.
But, Brad, I'm looking at the very first sentence says extreme heat and drought conditions from March 1st to July 25th. And you just mentioned August 1st.
That was when the declaration was declared by the Secretary of Agriculture, Tom Vilsack.
July 25th gets us through 8 weeks.
No, that's when my weather data started. So my weather data collection that I provided the graph for that showed 14 inches below normal and the 5-degree difference started on that date. But we hadn't, in a D2 range in the drought monitoring, we hadn't reached 8 weeks on July 25th. And we may not have reached 8 weeks without we just had a rain, so we might have been pushed out of that 8-week range. So, which is...
So you see what I'm getting at? Do we need to change that July 25th to...
August 1st.
At least August 1st?
I think it's fine. As I'm
Okay.
sitting here, and I appreciate this dialogue, I do think I would recommend supporting passage. Definitely correct what needs to be correct. It definitely looks good. I don't know what's required to be in, and if somebody's applying for loans or whatever, they can see that the county also recognizes the recent action. So if
Well,
you
that
want
first
April.
sentence is just where I collected data.
Mm-hmm.
So
But it wouldn't hurt to change July 25th to August 1st. Say.
you could, but I don't have data to support that additional. But I don't think we had many. I don't think our conditions changed much, to be honest with you.
And does it hurt leaving it?
Yeah, I'll just leave it the way it is.
Yeah, I don't know if it hurts leaving it.
Documentation to go.
So Kelly brought that. This is what it looks. You got it.
Yeah. Okay.
What's that? So still 13 inches below?
Well, they don't record in inches. They just put a designation on it. So a D2 is severe drought. So they don't assign inches of rain. That's how I collect data to show you how severe of a shortage we had at that time. And why I wanted a resolution, as you can see, is that only 25 to 30% of Madison was D3. That's an automatic designation. We were still on the fence for the rest of the county.
All right. So we probably need to go ahead and pass the
Yeah.
resolution just
I
because
think
we've got
so.
it in front of us, and we go from there.
Mr. Chairman, can I comment before we get into the motion?
Yeah, by all means.
I want to stay completely out of it then. But, the drought situation is really adding insult to injury in agriculture in Virginia with commodity markets crashing. And I guess the USDA has said that the last 2 years have been the steepest decline in farm income in the U.S. on record. So this is a really serious situation for the long-term sustainability of agriculture, which you're well aware of. So I think it does a good idea to go ahead and push this through because again, it says, yeah, we know it needs to be done. Please keep us in mind.
I don't know. I'm thinking about your conflict of interest, and I normally I wouldn't contrast you in any way, but I don't think that. I think this is a different deal on the basis that we had nothing to do with the contribution to having a drought, obviously, and this is something that's just being passed at a local level that the governor has already gone ahead and approved. But I just my 2 cents on this one. What would y'all like to do?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve Resolution 2024-17.
I second.
Motion's made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstained.
I abstain.
All right. Thank you, Jarvis. Kelly. All right. Moving on. Letter of support for grant application. Mr. Yell.
Yeah, so, gentlemen, I was contacted by a resident of Etlin who has a short-term rental, and he has noticed a considerable drop in his bookings over the last 6 or 8 months. I think Tracy, we've talked about that before. But anyhow, he had asked me, and he had also asked Tracy if we would co-sign a letter of support so he could write for a grant to get a website done. Right to Virginia Tech, isn't it? Huh? Yeah, Virginia Tourism, to get a website done to hopefully try to increase his bookings at his short-term rental. So I told him that I would certainly be glad to do it, but I thought it would carry more weight if it came from the full board, and doing that, I would not do that without getting you all's nod that you feel comfortable letting me sign this thing. There's no match or anything. It's just a letter of support to do this. What am I leaving out?
I think we should be supporting every business in Madison County. And I think we have we do that on a regular basis, even though it's misconstrued that we do not. This is easy. Why would we not try to help a business from one of our own neighbors?
I just have one question, Mr. Chairman. Tracy, how common is that request made for those grants to do websites or promotions? I mean, is it fairly common practice or? Just curious.
The question came up previously whether or not we should have like just a template to do, and I don't think we should do a template, because I think that when we have an opportunity to highlight a business, it should be highlighted here. And if they're going to ask, then we should talk about it real quick and go down the path and see what good stuff they're bringing to Madison. What would y'all like to
Well,
play,
as long
Judge?
as we're willing to do that for every Airbnb
Yes.
out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm okay with it, but it might be a lot.
A lot of times, to speak to Supervisor Buchanan, a lot of times, and I'm glad the request hits y'all's desk or phones or wherever the request comes from. A lot of times, we see it a lot with grant applications or things, predominantly, I think, agriculture, because that's the business, the majority of it in this community, but it's not uncommon to get a variety of businesses saying, hey, can I get a letter of support? And we look at things like, when are they operating, comp plan, most of those have been agricultural. So it's not uncommon for staff, which I think really extends itself to Chairman Jackson's point that you all would be supporting what staff is already supporting.
Yeah, and I don't mean to, Airbnbs, what's that, hip camp, it doesn't matter. It's any business. I think that we can support them in any way without giving them money. I don't see why we wouldn't. What would you like to do on this? I do think we should do a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve
Letter of support.
a letter of support that Mr. Yao could sign.
There you go.
I'll second that.
All right. Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Thanks,
All right.
gentlemen.
Good. Anybody have anything they want to discuss? All right, information and correspondence. REC letters for streamlined rate release. Mr. Weekly?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. At various points, when there are rate increases, whether at Comcast, Verizon, in this case REC, we certainly give notice to the board. I'm not sure if they give that to you directly, but I feel like it's our role to notify the board as well as get it out in the public domain. Those are the customers for REC. So we were given notice. It just came in the mail. I know the date on it says July, but we just received this. Essentially, they're going to file with the SEC to increase their electric delivery rates. I know it can be a little confusing when you read through this. In the second sentence, It talks about for those who use a minimum of 1,187 kilowatts per hour per month will see an increase in their bill of $8.31, which represents approximately 4.8%. Then on the other side of that, they say if you use an average member using 1,187 kilowatts per hour per month will see a decrease of approximately $1.79, which this all they're petitioning the SEC. If all this goes through and is approved, they'd like to see this reflected in the October bills. So all in all, the new net increase would be $6.52, or approximately 3.8% increase from their existing rates to what's being proposed. And then the contact information, if anyone has any questions or if you want me to direct any follow-up questions, would be Ms. Watson, who is the Director of Government Affairs for REC.
Do we have any comments or questions on this one? All right, thank you, Jonathan. Patty Award.
Yes, and I'm going to take Tracy's part of her report. I asked him to bring up that map. I think it's a good picture of what's going on. Tracy and I got the good news. I got to be careful what I distinguish between ISPs. So let's just say this. What I like is getting good news, whether it's on a Friday evening at 7 o'clock or whatever. But we were given the news kind of right before Governor made an announcement that the VATI 2024 grant application that you all approved being submitted was awarded, and Madison County was a recipient of that grant cycle award. I think we tried at least once, if not twice prior. A lot of this coverage area was part of the original 2021 application that was RDOF challenged, and later on Chantel backed out. So we're very pleased. Kim, can you shrink it down a little bit? We're going to get to the map in a moment. I want to read the narrative. So what this project would mean is roughly 193 miles of additional fiber construction above and beyond the RISE project, which is what they're currently doing. And when you look at this map momentarily, the RISE would be separated from like a blue or purplish color, and the new will be in that red or magenta or whatever you see that color being. This grant award would represent a total passings of 1,470 homes and businesses. I think it's clear to put out of the VATI funding award was a $12.2 million award. $4.2 million of that represents the Madison project. So overall, a lot of investment in the broadband in the county. Kim, if you can go up to show the coverage map. Certainly when there's more mapping and details provided to us, we haven't received that directly from Firefly. But this gives you a good idea. You may recall, I think Mr. Wood or Mr. Creekmore one was here when they were talking about the VATI project last. You saw a little bit of those, kind of looks like polka dots in the middle. So not only, you've been hearing me talk about the northern part of the county or northwestern part of the county for forever, which is very important. But you can see the other areas. There's part that was overbuilt there that kind of borders that Kinderhook, Fletcher area. But all those little speckles, normally you would think traveling up 29, think Brightwood in those areas, even going through the Oak Park area, they were able to determine those are unserved areas. So it may be where there was a provider going down the main road, but maybe there was a farm that had 3 houses on a big piece of agricultural land that, just they had nothing unless they were applying for satellite or something like that. So it's an opportunity for them to pick up other areas that are still, if you live in those areas, would be considered unserved. So all in all, it's great news for the community. This information is not on our website yet, as again, there's more information to come. We are working, I won't give you a date and time yet, but we are actively working, trying to have a grant award announcement with the ISP, potential congressional or state delegation or some type of announcement to be held here in Madison. Ms. Gardner, thankfully, is coordinate those efforts. We think it's important. It's a big rural announcement, and I think that announcement should be made in a rural county. So we're getting closer to that universal coverage term that they throw out. You can see there is a lot there left in Gray's Mill, but you'd have to look at population and kind of versus terrain. But good news for Madison. For the Board of Supervisors and overall the general public, if you want to know where the RISE project is at, go to our website. Under Community, there's a broadband link. You can follow whether it's a Brightspeed project or Firefly project, specifically Firefly. Each area is designated on the map, and you can see where they're at in the process. If it's make-ready fiber, I think the closest one that's doing service drops, go through that map at the bottom. Keep going. So we got an area there, that Stangersville-McMullen area, that's going to probably be the first area they cover first. You can see they have some service drop connections starting. The rest of them, they're still either in that mainline splicing, or if you're in sadly where I live, it'll be a while. They're still in make ready, but at least the updates are there for the board or the general public to see. So VATI announcement made. That's great news. When that information becomes available, so we can put that map and that information up, we will do so.
Wasn't Firefly giving us like a percentage of the previous project that they were complete? I thought they were at like, I don't know, they were at some pretty high percentage of where they were at.
I don't recall the percentage. We can go back and look. They report, now, I will say, when you see a project such as Madison County, not all the time, it's just one grant application is one county. They'll have several projects that may overlap multiple counties. So when they do a monthly report, all these ISPs are required to report to the Department of Housing and Community Development, and they have monthly reports. So there's some numbers in that, but that wouldn't be Madison specific. But
I was thinking they were way up, and Brightspeed is still at like 10%.
That's an accurate statement when it comes to getting close to completing make ready, so you can eventually get the service drop versus service drop. So that would be a fair statement, yes, sir.
Other questions or comments on this this exciting expansion to the RISE project?
So what I will say, Mr. Chairman, I did talk to Galen when he gave me this news, is that when they got into that service drop, I would like to be able to start giving you updates, whether it's monthly or quarterly. I remember sitting at the regional commission meetings, and Orange County invested a lot of money up front. Now they're finally getting some broadband money. I'd hear Mr. Voorhees speak about we're at this percent, this many connections. So we will be able to start doing that soon. I think it's good to know how many passings this project represents and how many are currently being actively connected.
Yeah, they were barreling down 230 and then they disappeared. There's something tainted about 230, right?
It is.
I don't know what it is.
It has to do with VDOT.
Well, and they are in multiple areas of the county. I think, I may butcher this number, but I think when Mr. Wood was here, there was like over 200 contractors that was in Madison County specifically doing work in those various areas that are part of the RISE project.
Other questions or comments on this? Thank you. All right. Public comment. What, Jerry Carpenter's the only person watching us? Oh, good. That's two. All right, we do have a closed session. Thank you all for coming, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that the board convene in a closed session pursuant to Virginia Code Sections 2.2-3711A1 for personnel and 2.2-3711A7 for consultation with legal counsel and briefings by staff members or consultants pertaining to actual or probable litigation.
I'd second.
Motion made and seconded. Further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
That was you, Judd?
Yep.
This conference is no longer being recorded.
What, in Etland? Yeah, man, how about that?
Really good. Mine's one of the dots. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I'm right outside of town.
Yeah, Doug,